Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Authorities say at least 11 people have died and 63 have been injured in a Russian missile attack a day after Joe Biden gave Ukraine permission to use long-range weapons inside Russia. Here, emergency services tackling a fire near a residential building in Sumy. 2 children were among the dead. Another missile strike left the region's administrative centre without power. It comes after the US president changed his mind and gave the green light for Ukraine to use long-range US missiles to strike deep inside Russia. The move, 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, follows months of requests by Ukraine to allow the military to use US weapons to hit Russian military targets far from its border. The first deep strikes are likely to be carried out using ATACMS rockets, which have a range of up to 190 miles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the missiles would speak for themselves.
The Republicans who are taking over both houses of Congress have, leading Republicans have long said that we should remove these restrictions. So here you have the Democratic administration doing something that the Republicans have asked for.
The decision by Joe Biden could allow other countries to follow suit, including the UK and the EU. Speaking from Brussels, the EU's foreign policy chief says the bloc should allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia.
I've been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcas. I continue believing this is what has to be done.
An Israeli airstrike on a 5-story residential block in Beit Lahir in northern Gaza has killed at least 34 people. That's according to the local civil defense agency. The agency said many of the dead were women and children, with dozens still feared to be under the rubble. 7 people were also injured. The Israeli military said it had been striking militant targets in the north of Gaza, including Beit Lahir, in an attempt to stop Hamas from regrouping. Elsewhere in central Gaza, 3 separate attacks on refugee camps killed 15 people, while 5 more were killed in an Israeli drone attack on Rafah in the south. Australian lawmakers have voted to censor an Aboriginal senator who heckled King Charles during his visit to Canberra last month to express their profound disapproval of her protest. Lydia Thorpe shouted, "You are not my king and this is not your land," shortly after the king addressed the Great Hall of Parliament in an effort to highlight the impacts of British colonisation.
From us, our bones, our skulls, our babies.
The Senate's censure, which passed 46 to 12, described Thorpe's actions as disrespectful and disruptive and said they should disqualify her from representing the chamber as a member of any delegation.
That is my point. Censure motion is...
Thorpe told reporters she had been denied her right to respond. Vehicles and people were seen navigating knee-high waters in the province of Nueva Ecija after Super Typhoon Man-yi swept across the Philippines' main island of Luzon. Here, drone footage showing the extent of the flooding, which sent more than 1 million people into taking shelter. Authorities have yet to report on any casualties except for severe landslides and infrastructure damage along the path of the typhoon. Man-yi was the 6th tropical cyclone to hit the Philippines in a month, which sees an annual average of 20 storms hitting the country. And Japan is seeing a record boom in tourism, but one recent visitor travelled more than the circumference of the Earth to get there, using boats, trains, camels, and even hitchhiking. Modern-day adventurer Omar Nock became a social media celebrity, attracting more than 750,000 Instagram followers, as he documented his route from Egypt across a dozen countries without once boarding a plane.
Hitchhiked to Mecca and finally arrived.
On his trek, he hitchhiked to Islam's holy city of Mecca, sandboarded the dunes of Iran, broke down in the Tajikistan mountains in a purple Dodge Challenger driven by another adventurer, and also crossed paths of Kazakhstan and Kazakhstan riding horses and camels. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.